Getting no answer, he drew two pictures on the board. One was a picture of Noah's Ark with barnacles on the bottom, and the other was a picture of a leafy oak tree and a tiny acorn underneath. And he said, well, Catholics say that this whole thing that is added to the early church was simply a growth from within, like the leaves on a tree. And it's very big and it looks very different than an acorn, but it's the same organism. That's their doctrine. Our take on it is just the opposite. We're not the new kids on the block. We're not 500 years old. They're the new kids on the block. They added all these pagan things gradually through the Middle Ages until the church was so overcrowded, so to speak, that Luther and Calvin and a couple of other sailors had to go overboard and scrape off the barnacles. And I said to myself, that's what I want to believe. And that makes it, I think, pretty easy to figure out. I don't have to go through every doctrine and look at the arguments pro and con. All I have to do is read the church fathers and find out how Protestant they were. So I asked the professor, raised my hand, said, Professor, you mean that if my Catholic friend and I both went into a time machine, went back to the first century and worshiped together in the New Testament church, that I, as a Protestant, would feel much more at home there than he as a Catholic? And I remember his look. He skewered his head and said, that's a weird way of putting it. But yeah, that's exactly what I mean. So I said to myself, well, great. All I'll have to do is read the church fathers and see that they're Protestant. And well, I wasn't absolutely certain what church I wanted to be in, but I was absolutely certain I wanted to be in whatever church Jesus wanted me to be in. So if Jesus established the Catholic Church, that settles all arguments. And I came to that conclusion. There's a seamless web of Catholic doctrine. There was no Reformation for 1,500 years. Why, if all these barnacles were so bad, why wasn't somebody scraping them off? Why was the Holy Spirit asleep for 1,500 years, letting Catholics bow down to bread and worship wine, thinking it's Jesus? So here I am,